Welcome to the Ath-leadership podcast. In this podcast, we will be uncovering the parallels between being an athlete and being a leader. Often seen as two very different disciplines, but in reality have more in common than most believe. Every leader is an elite athlete, and every athlete is an elite leader. So what can we learn from each other? My name is Marjolein. I'm an ambitious marketing leader, but equally an ambitious CrossFit athlete. I started CrossFit in 2017 and started to discover parallels over time between me being a CrossFitter and me being a marketing leader. These days, I'm chasing these learnings, and I'm trying to implement learnings from being a leader into being a CrossFitter and the other way around. Welcome to another episode of the Ath-leadership podcast. The topic about today is one that, if you've been following me, really fits the moment very well. Because it's all about falling off the bandwagon, getting out of your routine, things that you used to do on a very regular basis, and all of a sudden, something has happened and you really fell off the bandwagon. Yeah, at some point you really want to get back on the bandwagon. You want to find that routine again. But it happens in life that you drop off. And why I'm saying that if you follow me regularly, you would have noticed that this would obviously be a very relevant topic, is because I fell off the podcast bandwagon. I stopped recording. I didn't make the time for it. I truly believe it's not about finding the time, because we all have 24 hours in the day, but I didn't make the time for it because I had other priorities in life. And yeah, it felt bad. I really love speaking. I really want to share information. I really love doing a podcast. But yeah, I fell off the bandwagon. Reality, I accepted it. I'm at that point in time where I accept, but I'm even more at that point in time where I want to change that again. So this is why this episode is about falling off the bandwagon, but also about getting back on the bandwagon. So yeah, have you ever noticed that we do fall off the bandwagon with a lot of personal stuff? January 1st, we're all motivated to hit the gym. Comes March 31st, and for whatever reason, something has happened. We're not in the gym anymore. And we're asking ourselves why. We were there in the beginning of January. And we start thinking about what we have missed, how we need to start again. I haven't been to the gym for, I think, 4 or 5 weeks now. Yeah, I had other life events taking over. I planned 2 weddings, was very busy with work, got sick as well. So obviously there are always a lot of good reasons, and this is normal, but I fell off the bandwagon there as well. So it's really at that point in time when you realize it and you want something to change about it, the first tip that I can give you is take that first step. And don't think about the 50th step. Oh no, I will be sore. And oh no, I cannot do this movement anymore. And it will take me time to build. And I might not really have the energy today to do about it. Stop making the excuses. If this is something that is truly important to you, then take that first step. But without prejudices about what step 2, 3, or even step 50 is going to look like. Step 1, and just to be clear, is not even about doing it, but it's about showing up. It's about that realization, coming to that conclusion and going. For me, it was really tough after those 4 weeks off to go back to the gym. I was already thinking, oh no, I will probably not be able to do high volume workouts with high volume gymnastics, a lot of barbell cycling. My 1 rep maxes, what happened to them? But I have some great people around me who said, okay, you are now showing up. And that's step 1. I was at the gym at some point and it was just not really my day, but I was at the gym. And then I looked at my programming. I did 2 or 3 exercises and I said, no, you know what? Cut it. This is it for today. I'm just going to sit on the bike. I'm going to just cycle a little bit, but I showed up. And it helped me to start establishing that routine again. I'm now, after another 3 weeks back to the gym, I'm more or less back to my old schedule, but it took me a while. don't even ask me if I'm back to my old numbers or my old routine 100%. No, but I'm taking it one step at a time. And because I took that first step to actually show up, it made the rest of the process easier. So yeah, tip 1, if you fall off the bandwagon, show up, take that first step, and forget about everything that comes after. You can worry about that later. Tomorrow is another step 1 in that sense, if you want. Then that step 1 is to show up again. So one step at a time. Now, second thing, what happens when you fall off the bandwagon? And this one really made me think. It was a very inspiring manager I had a while ago who actually talked to me about it. Because did you already fall off the bandwagon when it comes to private stuff or sports? Chances are that it might have happened to you, and it's totally normal. But did you ever fall off the bandwagon when it comes to work? Did you ever not show up to work for a longer period of time because of life circumstances? And yes, I know there are certain life circumstances that make that you can't show up, but for the same reasons, you can't hit the gym or you can't make a podcast. Would that also be a reason why you would not show up at work? And I found that an interesting thing. Because if you look back at work, and I had someone saying this to me as well at some point in time, was, well, you made a promise to the company, or you made a promise to your manager or whatnot. And somehow you also make that promise to your team that you're leading, without it necessarily being so formally written, but you feel a certain level of accountability and responsibility. It's interesting that we don't fall off the bandwagon because we made a commitment to someone else. Yes, it's 100% normal. I'm not saying we should now all fall off the bandwagon when it comes to work. Definitely not. Quite the opposite, to be honest. But that's what you do in your spare time. Going to the gym, making that podcast or whatever it is you like. Isn't that the same as making a promise to yourself? A promise to do something else that sets your heart on fire besides work? And I found that an interesting analogy that manager that I had at the time made, because I was always somehow putting myself last. Yeah, I'm 100% dedicated to work. I absolutely love my job, and it will always come first. But this notion that I'm not only making a promise to someone else and to a company, but there's also in life a promise you make to yourself or to your family, depending on whatever your situation is. But even there are also certain promises that you make to yourself. And it's maybe not so formal and it's maybe not written. And a promise to yourself might sound really, really hard and entails a lot. But it's also about finding the time to do the things you like to do. I said in the beginning, it's really not about I didn't find the time. Because if we're all honest, there are 24 hours in a day and it's the same for everyone and others have the time. It's really about making the time for it. It's making the time to follow up on the promises that you made to yourself, the things that you really want to do on top of everything else you're doing, or to deprioritize something else for the sake of making this podcast. Once again, if I reflect on my personal life, I really wanted to organize 2 amazing weddings. And at that point in time, that promise was more important to me than making a podcast, despite me really wanting to do that. But at that point in time, with the time that I had available, with the other priorities such as work, sleep, I obviously didn't want to give up on going to the gym. Podcast started coming a bit later in the list. So yeah, now that the weddings are over and I'm a super happily married woman, and it's time to reevaluate. And then that's something that you also do continuously. The promises you make to yourself, how do you evaluate them on a priority scale? So point number 2, don't forget that you're making promises to yourself and you can follow up on that promise, and you actually should make that promise to yourself, and maybe you even vocalize it. And once again, before we close off this promise to yourself, I remember that manager telling me if sports is important to you, and from what I can see, it allows you to do an even better job at work, and plan in time in your calendar. If you live by your calendar and it's so important, then plan time in your calendar, because that is then the coming to life of the promise to yourself. That helped me, and that really helped me to establish a routine. But it's really for you to find those things that would help you to come back and to find a way to visualize that promise to yourself. So I said, second point, there are promises you make to yourself, whether it's in the strictest sense of the word or it's not, but you are allowed to follow up and to make time for it. Third point, when you get off the bandwagon, and this is one I'm personally not really good at. It doesn't need to be 100% when you start again. Now, 80% is more than enough, and even less. Once again, coming back to the first point, it's about taking that first step. It's about really showing up, and everything else will come back over time. Now, why do I say I'm not good at that? I'll give you 2 examples. One, I obviously fell off the bandwagon with sports. And yeah, when I come back after some time off, I just really want to go back 100%. I want to do my 7 sessions. I want to lift the weights that I know I can lift. I want to cruise through the workouts like I know I can cruise through them. And I'm so happy that I have a coach who then tells me, no, we are going to start ramping up again. And yeah, it's a hard process. It goes with ups and downs, because my expectation of myself is not 100%, it's 150%. It's who I am, it's part of my personality. It helps me in a lot of instances, but in these instances where you fall off the bandwagon and you need to get started again, it doesn't always play in my favor. The other example is this podcast. I've been saying for couple of weeks that I really wanted to get started again. I think I found every single excuse not to. And today I said, today's the day I'm starting my podcast. And as I was doing things, time flew by. I was like, well, but if I want to do my podcast, I need to make sure that the lighting is great. I need to have the microphone set up. I need my laptop. I need to have everything prepared. I want to do my hair. I need to do my makeup. I want to stand in the more casual business formal outfit. To really make it work. And this is where I said no to myself today, which I'm also good at, but that's probably for another episode. No, because if I'm going to wait for everything to be perfect, you will be waiting for this podcast for another 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah, of course, there are certain things that would maybe not have taken too much time. I mean, obviously, I could do my hair, I could do my makeup, I could have worked a bit on the lighting, but by that time, maybe my husband would be back home, and then I would really want to spend time with him. So to take out all the ifs and has to be perfect, and also from inspired by people that I follow on Instagram or which podcasts I hear, and they're always saying, just get started, 80% is enough. I'm trying to follow that principle. So if you're listening or watching this podcast on YouTube, you will be able to see that there's definitely not 100% readiness today. I hope that next time it's in that sense even better, but I'll take it one step at a time. So third point, 80% is enough or even less. Once again, and it always goes back to point 1, showing up, taking that first step is the most important thing. Now, there's one last overarching point, and you might have heard it in certain parts already, and it's to be kind to yourself and to show empathy. To be kind, that it's okay to deliver 80%. To be kind that you're taking this as a promise to yourself and a priority to yourself. Be kind to yourself that it's about that first step. Be kind to yourself in everything that follows. Yes, there will be days where everything runs the way you had planned it to run. There will also be points in time where you fall back again. And it's fine. That's what's called life. being kind to yourself and this empathy factor, once again, is something that my coach continuously tells me. Be kind to yourself at work. Be kind to yourself in your spare time. Be kind to yourself when it comes to your relationships. It will help you so much more. If you start being annoyed by yourself, mad at yourself, disappointed by yourself, no good will come from that. It will not help you to move forward. So really be kind to yourself. You deserve it. Everyone deserves sympathy and empathy from themselves and from others. So yeah, you fell off the bandwagon? Welcome. Join me in the club. I did as well. But here were 4 hopefully useful tips for you to get back into that routine. 1, it's about that first step. Show up. That's everything in the beginning. 2, it really is a promise that you make to yourself. It's something that's important to you, so try to visualize how you're promising something to yourself. 3, 80% or even less is more than enough. It doesn't need to be 100%. If you want it, it will come over time. And last but not least, be kind to yourself. Show empathy to yourself. So with that being said, I'm now trying to get back into my routine, or at least certain routines. I haven't picked up all of them. I mean, I'm obviously back in the gym and I'm really trying to do this podcast again. I'm not yet back to journaling, and there are obviously 100 more topics where I would really like to get back into. But I'll take it one step at a time. I really hope you enjoyed this podcast wherever you're listening to it. If you've liked this podcast, then please like, comment, subscribe, or even share this podcast with others who might also be inspired through it. And if you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram and I'll happily answer all of your questions.